Ever dreamed of slimming healthily while eating delicious meals without getting hungry or having to eat every 3 hours? Then you've been dreaming about the low-carb diet. Reducing your consumption of carbohydrates is a scientifically proven strategy to lose body fat, maintain lean mass, while improving your general health. Instead of trying to lose your weight by eating tasteless foods or worrying about calorie counts or eating snacks every 3 hours, you can simply reduce your consumption of a single nutrient, carbohydrates, and then you can get the body that you've always dreamed of. Recent scientific research has shown that the true reason behind putting on weight is not eating more calories than you burn, because our body is not a mathematical system that keeps calculating how many calories we eat and how many calories we burn. The true reason for putting on weight is a hormonal deregulation caused by bad eating habits, a bad diet, especially diets based in induced to produce, which is low in nutrients and consumed frequently. For instance, eating sweetened cereal and drinking a juice box first thing in the morning, and then eating a processed cheese sandwich mid-morning, having pasta for lunch with soda and chocolate for dessert, eating a croissant and yogurt mid-afternoon, and then having a lasagna for dinner and another glass of soda, and so on. The hormone that is most affected by this poor diet is insulin. And insulin is responsible for the metabolization of carbs and fats, and it helps the bloodstream to absorb glucose through the muscular and adipose tissues. Insulin allows glucose to be stocked as body fat instead of using it as an energy source. As you probably already know, there are 3 macronutrients: protein, carbohydrates, and fats. And out of these 3, carbohydrates are the ones that cause the highest insulin spike when we eat. So, in simple terms, carbohydrates up the levels of glucose in the bloodstream, which leads to an insulin spike, which then causes the accumulation of fat in the body. The worst thing is that just like your body can develop a tolerance to caffeine the more coffee you drink, you can also develop a resistance to insulin when high levels of insulin are constantly present in your system. A typical diet in the modern world is full of processed types of foods that are rich in carbs. And this carb-heavy diet means that a lot of people are always hungry, always snacking, always putting on weight. And that is why one of the best solutions to improve your health, to have more energy, and to burn fat is to adopt what is known as the low-carb diet. Now, what is a low-carb diet? A low-carb diet is eating in a way, or a strategy of eating that is low in carbohydrates compared to the average amounts of carbs that are consumed by the majority of the population. There are people who say that what we call low carb should actually be called normal carb, because if people would base their diet around natural, minimally processed foods, well, the consumption of carbs would be lower than what it is currently. Even natural foods with a slightly higher carb content like potatoes, fruit, and root vegetables, they are low carb compared to processed foods like biscuits and sodas and ice creams. Now, how many carbs should you eat? The question that comes up the most when we talk about low carb is, what is the daily amount of carbs that you should eat to lose weight? See, our body is a biological system and it's not a mathematical system. That is why it's not possible to give definite numbers, because everybody's different, everybody has different circumstances. But even so, specialists have identified 5 consumption thresholds that help us to get an idea. Just bear in mind that these 5 thresholds, they're just averages. And that beyond quantity, you have also to pay attention to the quality of the foods. So just use them as reference points, and let's look at these different consumption thresholds. 300 grams per day or over is a health hazard and rapid weight gain. For most people, eating more than 300 grams of carbs per day is a sure way to put on weight quickly, and also to increase the chances of experiencing different types of health problems. And unfortunately, the traditional diet recommended by the food pyramid gives us more or less 300 grams of carbohydrates per day as the basis of the diet. And most of the macronutrients in food packaging, they are calculated based on that figure. So in practice, this amount is the equivalent of the example that I gave a moment ago: cereal and juice in the morning, bread for snacks, pasta, soda for lunch and dinner, and sweets for dessert. In other words, it is very easy to consume 300 grams of carbs per day if you keep eating sugar and wheat. 150 to 300 grams per day is fast and continuous weight gain. Within this second threshold, the same health and weight regain risks apply, only that they develop at a slower pace. The production of insulin of your body when you consume 150 grams of carbs per day prevent your body from burning fat even when you exercise. And that is why so many people can't lose weight even when they exercise. 100 to 150 grams per day, maintaining or losing weight. If you're only looking to maintain your current weight or even to gain some muscular mass and reduce a little bit of your body fat, you can eat between 100 and 150 grams of carbs per day. This is the ideal threshold if you are already pleased with your current body shape and if you enjoy intense physical exercise. 50 to 150 grams per day is an effortless weight loss. Consuming between 50 to 100 grams of carbs per day is an ideal amount to lose weight effortlessly by most people. By eating between 50 to 100 grams of carbs per day, you lose body fat even without exercising, so long as you consume a good amount of protein and good fats from natural sources. 20 to 50 grams per day is ketosis and rapid weight loss. The quickest way to lose weight on a low-carb diet is ketosis. Your body goes into ketosis when the amount of carbs that you eat is so small that the body changes completely and starts using fat as its main source of energy. The problem is that eating only 20 to 50 grams of carbs per day is very restrictive, and it is very hard to keep in the long run. To give you an idea, if you just eat 2 slices of bread, you already consumed over 50 grams of carbs. Now, don't confuse ketosis with ketoacidosis. They are 2 different things. Ketosis and ketogenic diet are topics that need further discussion. Here at Not Good, we think of food re-education long term. That is why we're not going to restrictive ketosis threshold at another moment, right? The focus of our talk today is just to help you to find an easy way to a low-carb diet. Start by cutting out only 2 ingredients. The easiest way to start adopting a low-carb diet is to cut out 2 ingredients, wheat and sugar. And you shouldn't go around looking for wheat substitutes like rice and rye and maize and all types of other grains. This may not sound like much, but if you just cut out wheat and sugar, you're gonna notice a change in your shopping habits at the supermarket. By checking if the products contain wheat or sugar, well, then you're gonna stop buying a lot of processed foods that have a lot of carb content. The problem with these processed foods is that they stimulate the release of a high quantity of insulin in your system, which leads you to putting on more fat. Think of everything that contains sugar, wheat, or both. Bread, pasta, ice cream, biscuits, chocolate, soda, cakes, and crisps, and sweets, and treats in general. Now, you might be thinking that that doesn't leave much for you to eat, and that is a mistake. Vegetables, meat, eggs, dairy, and seeds, and oilseeds, and fruits, they are the foods that should be the staples on your diet. What to eat on a low-carb diet? Now let's think of a typical day on the low-carb diet and see how nutritious and delicious it can be. You see, you wake up and then you can have a bacon, parmesan, and oregano omelette for breakfast with a cup of black coffee. Or it can be milky coffee with whole milk, but obviously no sugar or sweetener. And for lunch, you can have a delicious dish of meat with a side of salad. And for dessert, a helping of strawberries with cream, of course, no sugar. In the evening, you can finish up your day with fish baked in the oven with butter and green olives with a side of buttery vegetables. Now, here's the best bit. You don't need to monitor how much of these you eat. You can eat until you're full, because the idea here is to monitor the quality, not the quantity of food that you eat. The low-carb lifestyle. Ever imagine what your day would look like if you didn't have to worry about eating every 3 hours, if you didn't go hungry most of the day, if you didn't have to be counting calories or monitoring the amounts of what you eat? Think about enjoying a constant flux of energy and vitality throughout the day, about being able to eat delicious meals, nutritious meals, and still having the joy of seeing your body's shape change as it trades fat for health. All of this is possible if you adopt a low-carb diet based on minimally processed foods with high nutritional density. Now, there is no point in going on a simple short-term diet. I mean, a diet when you temporarily change your eating habits before going back to your old habits. No short-term diet can have lasting effects in the long run. What you need is to adopt a low-carb lifestyle. And with this lifestyle, you only have to worry about the quality of what you eat. The quantity will regulate itself and correct the hormonal deregulation, which is the main cause of putting on weight. The main hormone affected by a poor diet is insulin, but there is another hormone that is affected by a high-carb diet, which is leptin. I prepared a special lesson about leptin resistance and how it slows down your slimming process. You can watch this lesson going to arata.se/leptin.